The night sky over the alien world shimmered with 3 glowing moons. The human named Ethan walked through the quiet alien village, his boots sinking into the soft blue dust. He had come here on a rescue mission, but what he found was something else, something that would change his life forever. In front of him stood 2 alien sisters. Their skin glowed faintly in the moonlight, smooth and pale like crystal. The elder one had sharp eyes and spoke with courage. The younger one stood behind her, quiet, her eyes clouded. She was blind. "Human," the elder sister said softly, her voice trembling. "Please marry my blind sister." Ethan froze. He thought he had misheard her. "Marry her?" he repeated, almost laughing. "I think you're joking." But the elder sister didn't smile. Tears formed in her bright silver eyes. "She can't see how ugly you are," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But she will see how kind you can be." The air turned cold. Even the alien wind seemed to pause. Ethan looked at the blind girl. She held a small flower in her hand, feeling its petals gently. She didn't know what was happening, but she smiled toward the sound of his voice. "She doesn't even know what I look like," Ethan said softly. "That's why you're perfect," the elder sister said. "Humans are known for compassion. You saved strangers in the war. Save her too, please." Ethan's heart pounded. He had seen cruelty, war, and greed across many planets, but never something this pure. Why would someone beg a stranger to marry her sister? Was it a trap, a ritual? Or something deeper? The elder sister took a step forward, her eyes glowing faintly. "If you don't help her," she said, "they'll take her away tomorrow. The village elders will send her to the mines. Blind ones are useless here." Ethan clenched his fists. "The mines?" he repeated. "She's just a girl." "She's my sister," the elder alien whispered. "And I have no power left to save her." For a moment, silence filled the space between them, broken only by the faint hum of alien fireflies. Ethan's human instinct screamed to run, but his heart refused. The blind girl turned her face toward him and smiled again, as if she could see something others couldn't. "Your voice," she said softly. "It sounds warm, like sunlight." Those words pierced something inside Ethan. He didn't know why, but at that moment he couldn't walk away. The elder sister knelt before him, her voice trembling with both fear and hope. "Human, she can't see how ugly you are," she said again, "but she might see the beauty in your heart. Please say yes." Ethan looked at the stars. Somewhere inside, something human, something deeply emotional, stirred awake. He slowly nodded. "I'll help her," he said finally, "but I need to know everything." The elder sister's eyes widened in relief. "Then come with me," she said, her voice shaking. "There's something you must see before you say yes completely." As they walked deeper into the forest, the glowing trees whispered softly. The blind girl followed, her hand brushing against the air as if she could feel every shimmer of light around her. Ethan didn't know what awaited him, but the look on the elder sister's face told him one thing. This was no ordinary marriage. It was a secret bound by pain, sacrifice, and something far more dangerous than love. The forest around them glowed with soft blue light. Strange flowers whispered in the wind, and the path beneath their feet pulsed faintly, alive like the heartbeat of the world itself. Ethan followed the elder alien sister, his boots crunching softly on the glowing dust. The blind girl walked beside him, her steps quiet but sure, guided only by sound. Her name, he learned, was Lyra. Her sister, the one who had begged him for help, was Seren. Seren led them to a small wooden hut covered in shining roots. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and old sorrow. There was a bed made of crystal vines and a bowl of soft fruit glowing with faint light. It was simple, too simple for what she had asked of him. Ethan finally spoke. "Seren," he said, his voice low, "why do you really want me to marry your sister? You said it was to save her, but from what?" Seren turned, her glowing eyes sharp but tired. "From this world," she said. "From the elders." "From fate itself," Ethan frowned. "That's not an answer." Serene walked to the window. "Humans once came here years ago," she said quietly. "They promised peace. They left behind machines, knowledge, and disease. Our kind started to change. Some became stronger, some became blind. The elders called it punishment." Lyra sat near the glowing bed, smiling faintly as she touched a flower. "I wasn't punished," she whispered. "I was just born different." Serene's jaw tightened. "Different means cursed here," she said. The blind are sent to the shadow mines when they reach their 20th cycle. They never return. Ethan's eyes widened. So you want me to marry her? To make her human property, so they can't take her? Serene looked down, ashamed but honest. Yes, if she is bonded to a human, the elders cannot touch her. It is our oldest law. Ethan exhaled slowly. He understood now. This wasn't just a desperate plea. It was a battle against their cruel traditions. But something still didn't make sense. Why me? He asked. You could have chosen anyone. Seren looked at him with a strange sadness. Because she already listens to your stories every night. He blinked. What? Serene smiled faintly. The human broadcasts, the ones that echo through the air. She listens to your voice on the old receiver. You tell stories about humans saving others, about kindness in a cold universe. She said your voice sounds like light. Ethan turned to Lyra. She blushed, her pale skin glowing faintly. I didn't know you were real, she said softly. I thought you were a dream. Ethan's chest tightened. He had told those stories long ago, recordings for peacekeepers and refugees. He never thought someone on a distant world was listening. Lyra smiled toward him, her cloudy eyes reflecting the faint glow of the hut. When I heard your voice, I imagined you were someone kind, someone who could see without eyes. Seren placed a small crystal pendant in Ethan's hands. If you wear this during the bond ceremony, she will be safe. The elders cannot break the vow once it's made. But when Ethan held the pendant, he felt something strange. The crystal pulsed, alive, almost aware. He looked at Seren sharply. This isn't just a pendant, is it? Seren hesitated. No, it's part of her. What do you mean, part of her? Ethan demanded. Seren's voice shook. When she was born blind, the elders removed her light, her soul sight, and trapped it inside this crystal. It's how she survived. Ethan stared at the glowing pendant in horror. You're saying her soul is inside this? Seren nodded slowly. If the elders find it, they'll destroy it. That's why she must leave with you before the next dawn. Outside, thunder rolled through the alien sky. The 3 moons turned red, casting long shadows across the ground. Lyra reached out her hand toward Ethan. You sound worried, she said gently. Don't be. I don't need to see. I can feel what's real. Her hand brushed against his, soft, trembling, but calm. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. For a moment he forgot he was on a strange planet. He forgot everything except that fragile touch. Seren broke the silence. Tomorrow night the elders will hold the selection. We must leave before then. I'll prepare the transport route through the forest. Ethan looked between the 2 sisters, the brave one ready to break her world's laws, and the blind one who smiled in the dark. He didn't know how deep the secret went, but one thing was clear now. This was not just about saving Lyra. It was about uncovering the truth this world had buried, a truth that could destroy them all. Outside, something howled in the night. The forest lights flickered and a shadow moved beyond the window, watching. The alien forest slept under the blood-red moons. Every leaf shimmered faintly, breathing light into the darkness. Yet somewhere between the glowing trees and whispering winds, something was moving, something that wasn't supposed to be there. Ethan stood at the door of the small hut, gripping the strange crystal pendant in his hand. It pulsed slowly, matching the rhythm of Lyra's heartbeat. He could hear her soft breathing behind him, calm and steady as if she felt no danger at all. But he did. He felt watched. Serene packed a few glowing fruits and silver leaves into a small satchel. We must leave before dawn, she whispered. Once the suns rise, the Watchers will follow our scent. Ethan frowned. Watchers? Serene nodded, her eyes filled with quiet fear. The elders' hunters. They guard the sacred villages. They see through light and shadow both. If they sense movement without permission, they send them back. Or worse. Ethan looked at the forest again. A dark outline shifted behind the trees. For a second, he thought he saw glowing eyes staring right at him, cold and gold like burning stars. But when he blinked, they vanished. He turned to Lyra. We need to move. She tilted her head, listening. Something's coming, she whispered softly. I can feel the ground humming. Serene grabbed her sister's hand. You feel the world better than any of us, she said. Now help me find the safe path. They stepped outside. The night wind wrapped around them like silk, whispering strange words in a language Ethan couldn't understand. Lyra walked slowly, barefoot, her fingers brushing the glowing plants as if she were reading their thoughts. The forest speaks, she said softly. It wants to hide us. Ethan followed close, his senses sharp. He had been through alien wars before, through jungles where one wrong step could mean death. But this was different. The forest felt alive. It knew they were there. After several minutes, they reached a small stream of glowing water. Seren knelt beside it and pulled out a piece of metal shaped like a compass. The arrow spun wildly, pointing toward the east. The portal site, she said. We can reach it before dawn if we move fast. Lyra smiled faintly. East feels warm. But before they could move, a sound tore through the silence, a deep mechanical growl. Ethan turned instantly, his training kicking in. Through the glowing fog, something emerged. Tall, armored figures with masks like bone, eyes glowing red. They carried spears made of humming light. Watchers, Seren hissed. Run! Ethan grabbed Lyra's arm and sprinted through the trees. The forest exploded with blue light as the Watchers fired energy bolts. The air filled with a high-pitched scream, the sound of power cutting through the night. Lyra stumbled, unable to see, but Ethan lifted her easily, carrying her as the ground burned behind them. Serene led the way, her feet barely touching the glowing soil. The forest itself seemed to help them. Vines shifted, branches moved, and paths opened. The Watchers struggled to follow. Each step they took caused the trees to close around them. Ethan shouted over the chaos. Why are they after her? Serene yelled back. Because she's not supposed to exist. The elders erased her birth record. To them, she's a ghost, a ghost. The word hit Ethan like a blade. Was that why the pendant pulsed like a heart? Was Lyra truly alive? Or something caught between life and light? He didn't have time to think. A beam of red light shot past his face, burning through a tree trunk. The blast knocked him off his feet. The pendant flew from his hand and rolled toward the stream. Lyra screamed. The light. Don't let them take it. Ethan crawled toward it as one of the Watchers appeared from the shadows, its spear raised. The air shimmered around the blade, humming with deadly energy. Before it could strike, Lyra stepped between them. She raised her hand. The moment her fingers touched the air, everything went still. The forest fell silent. Even the glowing water froze mid-flow. Then her eyes, once pale and blind, flashed bright white. A surge of invisible force burst outward. The Watcher flew backward into the trees, its armor cracking like glass. The others froze in terror. The air vibrated with power. Lyra's voice echoed, not loud, but calm, ancient. I am not blind, she said. I just see differently. Ethan stared, unable to move. The pendant in his hand glowed brighter, pulsing in sync with her light. Seren's eyes widened, her soul sight. It's returning. But the power was too strong. Lyra screamed as the light poured from her hands, burning the ground beneath her feet. Ethan rushed forward and grabbed her, holding her tight. The moment he touched her, the light dimmed, fading into soft sparks. The forest sighed, alive again. The Watchers were gone. Silence returned. Lyra collapsed against him, trembling. I didn't mean to, she whispered. It just happened. Ethan looked at Seren, still breathing hard. You said her light was trapped. But it's coming back, isn't it? Serene nodded, fear and hope mixing in her voice. Yes, but if the elders sense it, they'll come for her themselves. Ethan looked down at the pendant, glowing faintly in his palm. Then we better get her out before they do. Above them, the 3 moons flickered as if something massive had awakened far beyond the forest. And in the distance, a deep voice whispered through the wind. The light has been found. The red moons hung heavy in the alien sky, casting long rivers of light through the forest. Every leaf shimmered like glass, every shadow moved as if alive. Ethan carried Lyra in his arms, her body trembling, faint light still glowing from her fingertips. Seren ran ahead, her cloak fluttering like a torn flag. They didn't speak. They couldn't. The air was thick with danger. Somewhere behind them, the echo of the Watcher's fall still lingered, mixed with the whisper of the trees. Lyra's voice was faint. Did I hurt them? Ethan looked down at her pale face. No, he said softly, though he wasn't sure. You saved us, she smiled weakly. Then the forest was listening. Seren stopped suddenly. Her silver eyes darted around. The forest is no longer ours, she said. The elders will know. They always do, Ethan frowned. How? We're miles away from the village. Seren pointed to the sky. 3 red lines of light streaked across the moons, twisting like burning threads. That's how, she said. The Watchers send the sky eyes. Once they lock on, there's nowhere to hide. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then we move faster. He shifted Lyra carefully, but she caught his sleeve. Ethan, she whispered. Look. She pointed, though she couldn't see. Ahead of them, through the glowing mist, was a cliff. Beyond it, the land fell into a sea of light, a massive canyon filled with floating shards of crystal. Each one hummed softly, resonating like 1,000 heartbeats. The shattered veil, Saren breathed. It's beautiful. And deadly. Ethan stared. You want us to cross that? Saren nodded. It's the only way. The veil hides energy signatures. The Elder's eyes can't see through it. But the bridge there's a bridge? He interrupted. Not anymore, she whispered. Ethan swore under his breath. The canyon stretched endlessly, its depth glowing faintly like a living storm. There was no visible path, no sign of life. Only the hum of ancient power rising from below. Lyra lifted her head. It's singing, she said softly. Saren frowned. Singing? Lyra nodded. The light below. It's calling me. Ethan looked uneasy. We're not going down there. But Lyra's voice turned calm, almost otherworldly. It's not down. It's through. The light knows me. Before either of them could stop her, Lyra stepped forward. Barefoot, she walked toward the edge of the cliff. Her blind eyes glowed faintly as if something deep inside her had awakened again. Lyra, Ethan shouted, reaching for her. But the moment she took the final step, the air around her shimmered. The ground beneath her feet turned into a pattern of light, creating a floating bridge of glowing symbols. Saren gasped. It's the soul bridge, she whispered. Only those with pure light can open it. I thought it was a myth. Lyra turned back and smiled faintly. Maybe I just believed harder. Ethan stared at the glowing path stretching into the canyon. The symbols pulsed softly beneath her feet, waiting. We're really doing this? He muttered. Saren nodded. If she opened it, it will hold. For her, and for whoever she trusts. Ethan took a deep breath, then stepped onto the bridge. The symbols glowed brighter, almost responding to his human heartbeat. Lyra's hand brushed his, warm and steady. Together they walked across the light. The canyon wind howled below, filled with strange whispers. Ethan glanced down and saw faint shapes moving in the glow, ghostly outlines of alien faces reaching up as if begging for help. What are those? He whispered. Saren's voice trembled. The ones who fell. Those who refuse the elders. The veil keeps their memories. Lyra's steps slowed. They're not angry, she said quietly. They're waiting to be seen. Her words carried through the canyon like a prayer. For a moment, even the ghosts seemed to listen. But then, the light behind them dimmed. A sharp hum echoed from the forest. The sky eyes had found them. Red beams cut through the mist, striking the canyon wall. The whole veil trembled. Saren shouted, "Run!" The bridge began to flicker. Ethan grabbed Lyra and sprinted forward as the glowing symbols blinked out one by one. Behind them, the red light followed like fire, burning the air itself. They reached the far side just as the final section of the bridge vanished. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping, holding Lyra close. The canyon behind them collapsed into darkness, swallowing the last traces of light. Saren knelt beside them, clutching the pendant. "We're safe," she said breathlessly. "For now." Lyra smiled faintly. The veil didn't want to hurt us. It wanted us to cross. Ethan nodded, still staring at the pendant. "It's reacting again," he murmured. "It's brighter now." Saren looked at it closely. The crystal pulsed, glowing like a heartbeat. "Her soul is waking," she said softly. "But if it awakens completely, the elders will sense her no matter where we go." Ethan looked toward the horizon. The red moons were fading into dawn. In the distance, the silhouette of a city rose, a cluster of shining towers shaped like blades. He clenched his fist. "Then we go there," he said. "If the elders are coming." "It's time I meet them." Saren's eyes widened in fear. "You don't understand." "That city." "I do now," Ethan said, his voice low. "If they built this cruel world, then it's time someone reminded them what it means to be human." The morning light broke across the alien sky, and far behind them the Watchers awoke again. This time not to hunt, but to obey the Elder's will. The chase had just begun. The city shimmered on the horizon like 1,000 blades of silver. As the first dawn light touched its towers, each one reflected a spectrum of alien colors, blue, gold, violet, dancing like living glass. Ethan stood at the edge of the ridge, staring down at it. It was beautiful and terrifying. Seren's voice broke the silence. "Welcome to Alarion, the city of elders." Lyra stood beside Ethan, her pale eyes turned toward the rising light. Though she could not see, her expression softened. "It sounds peaceful," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "It looks like peace, but it feels like a trap." Seren nodded. "It is both." The path leading down was made of smooth white stone, marked with ancient runes that glowed faintly under their steps. The air felt colder here, heavier, as if the city itself were watching them. When they reached the base, two tall figures approached. Their skin was metallic silver, their eyes bright white. They wore robes that seemed to float. Each carried a long staff that hummed with quiet energy. "Travelers from the forest," one said. "You walk uninvited." Seren bowed slightly, her voice calm. "We seek mercy from the council." The taller guard tilted its head. "Mercy is earned, not begged." Ethan stepped forward, his human accent sharp in the quiet air. "Then I'll earn it. But not for me, for her." He motioned toward Lyra. The guards' glowing eyes flickered when they looked at the blind girl. Something in their faces, almost human sadness, appeared for a brief second before fading. "Follow," one of them said. They led the group through towering gates carved with swirling symbols. Inside, the city opened like a dream. Floating bridges connected crystal buildings. Streams of glowing water ran through the air, defying gravity. And everywhere, whispers filled the wind. Ethan looked around.
"They built all this."
"Yet they still send children to die in mines," Serene answered quietly. "They built beauty to hide their sins." Lyra clutched Ethan's arm as they entered a wide hall filled with floating orbs of light. In the center stood a circular platform surrounded by tall figures, the Council of Elders. Each wore a mask shaped like a calm face. But behind the masks, Ethan felt nothing but cold judgment. The tallest elder spoke. "Seren of the lower tribes. You broke the sacred boundary." Seren bowed her head. "I did." "You sheltered the blind one," another said, voice deep as thunder. "And now you bring a human among us." Ethan met their gaze without flinching. "She's not a curse," he said. "She's alive. And you're afraid of her because she reminds you what mercy looks like." A ripple of murmur spread across the hall. The elders turned their masked faces toward him. "Human," the tall one said slowly. "You do not understand what she is." Ethan took a step forward. "Then explain it." The elder raised his staff. A beam of light shot from its tip, forming an image in the air. A child glowing with pure white light. It was Lyra as a baby, her eyes bright and full of life. But as the image moved, her light was pulled away, sealed into a crystal, the same pendant Ethan carried. "She was not born blind," the elder said. "She was born with too much light. It began to consume her world. The skies dimmed, the rivers turned white. The balance was breaking," Seren whispered. "That's not true. She never harmed anyone." The elder's voice grew cold. "You do not understand. Her soul is half human. The child's mother was one of us. But her father," Ethan's breath caught. "Human?" The elder nodded. "He came during the Great Arrival. He left his light within her. It made her powerful. And dangerous. We sealed her vision to save our world." Ethan looked at Lyra. "Half human," he murmured. "That's why she could hear my broadcasts. That's why she feels emotions differently." Lyra's voice trembled. "I never wanted to hurt anyone. I only wanted to see." The elder lowered his staff. "Seeing is not meant for you." Ethan stepped between them. "You took her sight because you feared what she might become. But you never asked who she already was." The air in the hall grew tense. The elders' masks glowed brighter. "You dare challenge our law?" Ethan's voice rose. "Your laws were made to protect your pride, not your people. If this is mercy, then your mercy is cruelty dressed in light." A heavy silence followed. Even Seren couldn't breathe. Lyra's hand found Ethan's sleeve, her fingers trembling. "They're angry," she whispered. The elder's voice thundered through the chamber. "You have broken the sacred rule. The light you carry must return to its source." The pendant ripped itself from Ethan's hand and floated into the air. It pulsed violently, glowing like a small sun. Lyra screamed as her body arched backward, light pouring from her eyes. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, rushing toward her. But invisible energy threw him back. He hit the ground hard, the air leaving his lungs. Serene ran to help, tears streaming down her face. Lyra's voice echoed, layered with something ancient, I am not your curse. I am your reflection. The light exploded outward, shattering the elder masks. Beneath them, their faces were hollow, nothing but carved stone. Seren gasped. They're not alive. Ethan stared in horror. They've been gone for centuries. The hall shook. The floating orbs burst into blinding light. The voices of the elders faded into static. Lyra collapsed, glowing faintly. Ethan crawled toward her, pulling her into his arms. Stay with me, he whispered. Her hand touched his face, weak but warm. Now I see, she said softly. You're not ugly. You're human. Her light flickered again, and the city began to crumble. The city screamed. The towers that once shimmered like silver blades began to crack and twist, collapsing in showers of glowing dust. The air trembled with a deep hum, like the dying heartbeat of a giant. Ethan held Lyra in his arms, her faint light flickering like a candle in the storm. Seren stumbled toward them, her silver hair blowing wildly. The core is collapsing, she shouted over the roar. The Elder's illusion is breaking. Everything they built is falling apart. Ethan looked around. The once beautiful city was tearing itself apart. Bridges shattering, rivers of light spilling into the air, floating buildings falling like stars. Above them, the red moons dimmed, their glow fading into ash-gray clouds. He gritted his teeth. We need to move. Seren nodded and pointed to the far edge of the hall. There's an old escape path, the lower tunnels. If we can reach the core chambers, there's a way out. Ethan lifted Lyra gently, feeling her heartbeat weak but steady. Hold on, he whispered. We're getting you out of here. As they ran, the ground cracked beneath their feet. Walls of crystal shattered around them, releasing waves of bright mist. The air smelled like burning light, sweet and sharp at the same time. Behind them, the hall where the elders once stood collapsed completely, their masks crumbling into dust. Seren looked back once. They weren't even real, she said, her voice filled with disbelief. All this time, we serve shadows. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then let's make sure the living don't die for their lies. They reached a spiral stairway made of stone and light. It led deep underground, glowing faintly beneath the chaos, but as they descended, a deep voice echoed through the ruins. You cannot run from the light. Ethan stopped. The voice wasn't human or alien. It came from everywhere at once. Lyra stirred in his arms. It's the core, she whispered weakly. The last echo of the elders. Seren's eyes widened. They stored their minds in the core, part of the light network that powers this city. The voice grew louder, filled with anger. The blind one must return. She carries the seed of the sky. Ethan shouted into the air. She's not your property. She's a person. But the light above them flared, forming a massive glowing figure, faceless, shifting like living fire. Its voice thundered again. The seed cannot exist outside the source. Return her, or all worlds will burn. Seren grabbed Ethan's arm. It's lying. The elders said the same thing centuries ago. They feared the seed's power because it was free. The floor shook violently. The glowing figure swung a wave of energy toward them. Ethan leapt aside, holding Lyra close as the blast scorched the wall behind him. He turned to Seren. How do we destroy it? The core's heart is below us, she said. If we reach it and break the link, their network dies. But what? She met his eyes. The core is powered by soul light. To destroy it, someone must give their own. Ethan's stomach dropped. No, there has to be another way. Lyra's voice interrupted, soft but steady. There isn't. He looked down at her, her blind eyes glowing faintly again, her skin pale but peaceful. You're not doing this, he said firmly. You've already lost enough. Lyra smiled faintly. You said I wasn't ugly, remember? You saw me when no one else did. Now let me see for you. Before he could stop her, she slipped from his arms and walked forward. Light bloomed around her feet, forming a glowing path toward the core chamber. Ethan followed, shouting her name. Lyra, don't! But Seren held his arm. Wait, she whispered. This is her choice. They entered a massive chamber, a vast hollow sphere filled with spinning rings of light. In the center floated the core, a pulsating orb brighter than the sun. Energy flowed from it like rivers of liquid fire. The glowing figure reappeared above it, its voice shaking the walls. You cannot kill the light. Lyra stepped forward, the pendant around her neck glowing brighter and brighter. I am not killing it, she said softly. I'm freeing it. The figure screamed, a sound that split the air. The ground trembled violently. Cracks of light spread across the chamber floor. Ethan ran toward her, fighting the force pushing him back. "Lyra, please." She turned her head slightly, smiling through tears. "You taught me what it means to be human, to care even when it hurts." The core pulsed violently. Serene covered her face as the blinding light filled the room. Lyra reached out, pressing the glowing pendant into the core. A silence fell. Then, an explosion of pure light. It wasn't destruction, it was release. The walls turned transparent, showing the city above dissolving into shimmering dust. The towers rose like spirits into the sky, vanishing one by one. The red moons turned white again. Ethan fell to his knees as the blast faded. The glowing figure was gone. The core no longer pulsed. Only quiet light filled the chamber. He looked around frantically. "Lyra?" She lay on the floor still. The glow around her slowly faded, leaving only peace on her face. Her eyes were closed, but no longer clouded. Serene knelt beside her, tears falling silently. She did it. She gave her light back to the world. Ethan's chest tightened. He lifted her gently, whispering, "You promised me you'd see again." For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft whisper brushed his ear. "I do." Her eyes opened, clear and shining, reflecting the light of the new dawn. Ethan froze, speechless. Serene gasped. "She's alive." Lyra smiled weakly. "The light isn't gone. It's everywhere now." Outside, the sky of Valerian turned gold. The world, for the first time in centuries, felt alive again. But deep beneath the ground, a faint hum returned. A single shard of the broken core pulsed one last time, dark, silent, and waiting. The war between light and shadow was not over yet. The storm had passed. The sky above Valerian was no longer red. It was clear, calm, and full of pale golden light. For the first time in centuries, the world breathed. The towers that once shone with cruel perfection now lay in ruins, covered by soft vines and drifting embers. Ethan stood on the ridge, holding Lyra's hand as they watched the city crumble silently beneath them. The morning wind carried the scent of wet stone and glowing pollen. "She did it," Serene whispered. "She broke their curse." Ethan turned to her. "No, we did it," he said quietly. "But she paid the highest price." Lyra stood between them, wrapped in Ethan's jacket. Her eyes were open now, clear, bright, and full of quiet wonder. She blinked slowly, taking in the colors of dawn for the first time in her life. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "I never knew light could be this gentle." Serene smiled through tears. "You're seeing what you created." Lyra turned toward Ethan. "And you look exactly how I imagined." "Not because of your face," she said shyly, "but because of your voice. It always sounded like someone who never gave up." Ethan chuckled weakly, brushing dust from his arm. "That's one way to describe a stubborn human." For a moment, peace returned. The three of them stood together, human and alien, watching a new world being born. But beneath the calm, something stirred. A faint rumble rolled through the ground. The wind changed, warmer, heavier. Serene's expression darkened. "The core fragment," she murmured. "It's still alive." Ethan's jaw tightened. "How bad?" She looked toward the horizon, where a single spire of black light rose from the ruins. "Bad enough to undo everything." Lyra took a slow breath. "It's calling me." Ethan shook his head instantly. "No, you've done enough." She smiled sadly. "It's not asking for power. It's asking for forgiveness." Serene frowned. "Forgiveness? The core destroyed our people." Lyra turned to her sister, her glowing eyes soft but steady. "No, the elders did. The core only obeyed. It never knew compassion. It only knew control." Ethan stared at her, realization dawning. "You think you can change it?" Lyra nodded. "If the core learns what humans taught me, what it means to care, it won't destroy. It will heal." Serene stepped forward. "Then we'll go with you." Lyra shook her head gently. "This time I must go alone." Ethan reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. "You're not facing it alone, Lyra. Not anymore." Her smile was sad but warm. "You gave me your strength. That's why I can do this." She touched his hand and a faint glow passed between them, like sunlight caught in glass. Then she turned toward the black spire. The wind carried her hair like a halo as she walked, every step leaving trails of light behind. Ethan and Serene followed at a distance until they reached the crater. In its center pulsed the last shard of the core, dark, alive, and whispering. The voice returned, faint and broken. Return the light. Lyra knelt before it. I never took it, she whispered. You gave it to me because you forgot why it existed. The shard pulsed violently. Light is control. No, Lyra said firmly. Light is choice. The shard flared, sending waves of energy through the ruins. Ethan shielded his face as the air turned blinding white. Lyra didn't move. She reached out, pressing her hand against the core fragment. I forgive you, she whispered. The ground went still. The black light dimmed, then dissolved into a soft gold glow. The air shimmered. And in that light, faint images appeared. Faces of the lost ones, of the watchers, of the elders before they turned cruel. Serene gasped. There, remembering. Lyra smiled faintly as the light surrounded her. They're learning. Ethan shouted, Lyra, come back. But the golden light rose around her like waves, lifting her slowly into the air. She turned her head toward him one last time, her voice gentle as wind. Don't be sad, Ethan, I'm not gone. I'm part of the light now. He reached for her, but the light grew brighter, too bright to see. And then she was gone. Silence fell again. The black spire crumbled to dust. The world shone brighter than ever before. Seren stood beside him, tears glistening in her eyes. She saved us all, even the ones who never deserved saving. Ethan didn't speak. He just looked up at the sky where faint golden threads now danced among the clouds, like her voice carried by the light itself. A soft breeze brushed past him, and in it he heard a whisper, I can see you. He smiled, his voice breaking. Yeah, I see you too. The wind carried that answer into the horizon. Years later, travelers from distant stars would come to Alarion, the reborn world of light, and they would speak of a legend, a blind alien girl who taught a machine to feel, a human who showed an entire race the meaning of compassion, and a world that once fell to silence, but rose again because one small heart refused to stop, believing they would call it the light that learned to love. And every time the golden auroras shimmered above the new world, people said it was her, Lyra, the girl who could not see, watching over them all.